So I'm going to show you guys my Shearwater Perdix computer. When you buy them, and you buy many other types of computer, they'll come with some kind of strap. Yes, they might be elastic or stretchy, but quite often they'll have some clips on them, and it means there's a degree of adjustment you have to do, particularly as you move from wetsuit to dry suit. And what I generally find is that any computer with a clip, you almost need two hands to clip it up, and you'll see people almost resting their hand on their leg as they try to fiddle with the clip. So I'm not a big fan of the clips. I always like the bungee mounts. So what I'm going to show you is how I do that with the Shearwater. So what's really cool about the Shearwater is it already gives you some holes that you can use to run the bungee. So there are a lot of different ways of doing it. I think they even have a video on their own website. I've had a look at it. I'm not a big fan of it. I have a different way. So what I'm going to show you is just with a standard piece of bungee. Now you can use really whatever you like. What you can choose is a thickness of bungee that's going to work for you. So the thinner the bungee, the easier it's going to be to run through these holes, okay? But you might feel it's a little flimsy, and you might also feel that it's too stretchy, okay? So I'm actually going to go and show you now. This is actually a 4 to 5 mil, depending on how you measured it, and it's just long enough to, just big enough rather, to go through the holes that are in here. So you can use a complete piece, or you can pre-cut it to length. If you cut it to length, you're going to end up with about 55 centimeters, okay? So what I'll do is I'm just going to cut that for you, and then we have a slightly easier time of working. So this is going to be one end, and I'm going to start it off with a knot, and that's obviously going to stop it pulling through, okay? Now this is going to be the, if you like, the tidy end. This is going to be one of the ends that finishes inside. So I want that tail to be nice and short. So I want to pull that nice and tight. And there we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take, and it doesn't matter which side you start on, but what I like to always do is have any of the knots finishing on the inside, so the outside is nice and smooth. So I'm going to take one end, and I'm just going to start, and you have to wiggle a little bit to get this through. And I've actually chose the thickest piece of bungee that will go through these holes. So I'm pulling that all the way to the knot, and that's what's going to sit on the wrist. I'm going to come into the back now to create what would be the first loop. So we can resize this, of course, once we're finished. But one thing that's interesting to do now is about halfway along here, we're going to put a second knot. And what that's going to do is give you some security if one side were to break or one knot were to come off. So at around the halfway point, and again, we're going to adjust this, so don't do it too tight to begin with. This is now one side of the loop. And then we're going to finish off coming back down the front. And again, what I'm going to do is finish this off with a knot. So the length of bungee for you guys is going to vary a little bit based on your suit and also how comfortable you want it to be. One thing to bear in mind though is depending on what hand you have it on, the one side wants to fit slightly narrower at the wrist, and the other side wants to be slightly thicker, okay? And then if you look, you can see that there's no knots on the outside, no knots on the inside, and then if I get this on, this is now how it's held in place. And what I can do is I can take this knot here and I can move it up and down to make sure that the two pieces are actually where I want them to be. And then you have it, there's the bungee mount. Once you've run the bungees now, you can just take a look on the inside. And what you can see is that we've got 1, 2 knots on the inside and this middle knot here. So of course, with the thicker the bungee, the more you're going to have less finding that a little bit bulky. So again, you can find it running it with a narrower piece.